can remember whenever I became the training officer for the Highway Patrol, the way we had basic training classes come through for however long the patrol had existed, they would identify the class by saying, this is the spring class of 19 whatever, this is the fall class of, this is the summer class, but there was really no other designation of all of those years when basic training classes of troopers came through. And it seemed to me like it would be better if we kind of knew how many classes had come to that point. And so I had a new member come onto my staff, and he couldn't really do any instruction yet because he had not had the proper training. And so I gave him an assignment. I said, I want you to go to the archives and call older retired troopers, whatever you can do. And I want you to come up with how many basic training classes the Highway Patrol has had. And I said, what I want you to do is I want you to list them out, put them in order, and I want to know the number for the next class that we're going to have. And so he accomplished that assignment. And so that next class that came up, I can't remember, it was Basic 69 or Basic 70. And from then on, each basic class had their own specific number. And then I think whenever I came to the church where I'm at now at Lexington Shepherd, and I had been a charter member here. And so I realized that I was aware of all the pastors that had been here at this church. But as I looked around, I realized that most people at this church would not know that. And I thought, we need to document that and put it in history. And so I contacted all the previous pastors and asked them for a picture of themselves. And then I got the dates that they had been pastor here and put their picture with the dates on the wall. Matter of fact, someone asked me why my picture wasn't there. And I said, well, whenever you notice that I'm not here anymore, hopefully somebody will take my picture and stick it up there on the past pastors. Well, my name is Richard Coleman, and I'm the pastor at Shepherd Church of the Nazarene in Lexington, South Carolina. And it's great to spend just a few moments with you today. Mark was the one that wrote the first gospel. Mark was not a disciple. He was a follower of Simon Peter. And so he listened to Simon Peter as Simon taught and preached and told the stories about what it was like to be around Jesus. And so it was Mark that wrote the events of Jesus's life first. And then Luke later came along. Luke was not a disciple. Luke was a doctor, actually. And I'm confident that Luke wanted to clarify maybe some of the things that Mark did not put in there. Matter of fact, Mark started his off by talking about John the Baptist preaching to the crowds. Luke decided, and he actually wrote it in his first few sentences of his gospel, he said, I would like an orderly account of the life of Jesus. And so when he read Mark's, he realized that there's John the Baptist and he's preaching. But when he did his interviews, I'm confident that he found out there was a story prior to that. And that's the way that Luke starts out his gospel. He starts out talking about a priest by the name of Zachariah. Zachariah had a wife named Elizabeth. And it talks about how Zachariah, it came his turn as priest to go into the temple. And whenever he took his turn going into the temple, interesting things happens. And so on Mother's Day, I would like for us to take just a few moments and look at how Luke described John the Baptist's parents. Luke tells us that Zachariah and Elizabeth both were upright in God's eyes and that they obeyed the commandments. You know, as we celebrate mothers, and it won't be very long, and we'll have Father's Day, and we'll be celebrating fathers also. Sometimes I think we forget the importance of setting the right example and being the kind of people that we need to be. Zachariah and Elizabeth were chosen by God for a very important assignment. And the reason they were chosen is because they were upright in the eyes of God and they obeyed his commandments. Jesus, over and over in his lifetime, he would say, if you truly love me, obey my commandments. If you truly love God, obey God's commandments. Jesus took time and he taught. He explained the commandments in depth. He told them it was more important than just dotting I's and crossing T's. It's about what came from the inside, that we truly love God with all that we are, heart, soul, mind, and strength. And an outflowing of that is to love our neighbors as ourselves. You see, John the Baptist just didn't happen to be. John the Baptist's story starts out with his parents that loved God, set a proper example, and taught him the things that needed to be taught. So I'm hoping that maybe rings a bell for us today as we celebrate our mothers, whether it's a memory or whether mom is there that you can speak to. Be sure and do that. And also remember that our part is setting the example for those that are going to follow us and be true to what God has called us to do. Well, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you. May you truly be able to be God's example throughout this week. Thanks for taking the time and viewing today.